Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God, back with you with the next video in my series reading Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Without further ado, returning to Oliver Twist as read by Lord Naren White. Thither he directed his steps, running sometimes, and sometimes with a strange perversity, loitering at a snail's pace, or stopping altogether and idly breaking the hedges with a stick. But when he got there, all the people he met, the very children at the doors, seemed to view him with suspicion. Back he turned again, without the courage to purchase bait or drop, though he had tasted no food for many hours, and once more he lingered on the heath, uncertain where to go. He wandered over miles and miles of ground and still came back to the old place. Morning and noon had passed, and the day was on the wane, and still he rambled to and fro and up and round and still lingered about the same spot. At last he got away, and shaped his course for Adfield. It was 9 o'clock that at night, when the man, quite tired out, and the dog, limping and lame from the unaccustomed exercise, turned down the hill by the church of the quiet village, and plodding along the little street, crept into a small public house, whose scanty light had guided them to the spot. There was a fire in the tap room, and some country laborers were drinking before it. They made room for the stranger, but he sat down in the furthest corner and ate and drank alone, or rather with his dog, to whom he cast a morsel of food from time to time. The conversation of the men assembled here turned upon the neighboring land and farmers, and when those topics were exhausted, upon the age of some old man who had been buried on the previous Sunday, the young men present considering him very old, and the old men present declaring him to have been quite young, not older, one white-haired grandfather said, than he was, with 10 or 15 years of life in him at least, if he had taken care. There was nothing to attract attention or excite alarm in this. The robber, after paying his reckoning, sat silent and unnoticed in his corner, and had almost dropped asleep, when he was half awakened by the noisy entrance of a new comer. This was an antic fellow, half peddler and half mountebank, who travelled about the country on foot to vend hones, stops, razors, wash balls, harness paste, medicine for dogs and horses, cheap perfumery, cosmetics, and such like wares which he carried in a case slung to his back. His entrance was the signal for various homely jokes with the countrymen, which slackened not until he had made his supper, and opened his box of treasures, which he ingeniously contrived to unite business with amusement. "And what be that stoof? Good to eat, Harry?" asked a grinning countryman, pointing to some composition cakes in one corner. "This," said the fellow, producing one, "this is the infallible and invaluable composition for removing all sorts of stain, rust, dust, mildew, speck, spot, or spatter from silk, satin, linen, cambric, cloth, crepe, stuff, carpet, merino, muslin, bombazine, or woolen stuff. Wine stains, fruit stains, beer stains, water stains, paint stains, pitch stains, any stains, all come out at one rub with the infallible and invaluable composition. If a lady stains her honor, she has only need to swallow one cake, and she's cured at once, for it's poison. If a gentleman wants to prove this, he has only need to bolt one little square, and he has put it beyond question, for it's quite as satisfactory as a pistol bullet, and a great deal nastier in the flavour, consequently the more credit in taking it. 1 penny a square. With all these virtues, 1 penny a square." These were two buyers directly, and more of the listeners plainly hesitated. The vendor, observing this, increased in loquacity. "It's all bought up as fast as it can be made," said the fellow.
There are 14 water mills, 6 steam engines, and a galvanic battery, always a working upon it, and they can't make it fast enough, though the men work so hard that they die off, and the widows as pension directly, with £20 a year for each of the children, and a premium of 50 for twins. 1 penny a square, 2 halfpence is all the same, and 4 farthings is received with joy. 1 penny a square. Wine stains, fruit stains, beer stains, water stains, paint stains, pitch stains, mud stains, blood stains. Here's a stain upon the hat of a gentleman in company that I'll take clean out, before he can order me a pint of ale.
Ha! cried Sikes, starting up. Give that back.
I'll take it clean out, sir,
replied the man, winking to the company.
Before you can come across the room to get it. Gentlemen all, observe the dark stain upon this gentleman's hat, no wider than a shilling, but thicker than a half-crown. Whether it is a wine stain, fruit stain, beer stain, water stain, paint stain, pitch stain, mud stain, or blood stain.
The man got no further, for Sikes with a hideous imprecation overthrew the table, and tearing the hat from him burst out of the house. With the same perversity of feeling and irresolution that had fastened upon him, despite himself all day, the murderer, finding that he was not followed, and that they most probably considered him some drunken, sullen fellow, turned back up the town, and getting out of the glare of the lamps of a stage coach that was standing in the street was walking past. When he recognized the mail from London, and saw that it was standing at the little post office, he almost knew what was to come, but he crossed over and listened. The guard was standing at the door, waiting for the letter bag. A man, dressed like a gamekeeper, came up at the moment, and handed him a basket which lay ready on the pavement.
That's for your people, said the guard. Now look alive in there, will you? Damn that air bag. If it weren't ready night afore last, this won't do, you know. Anything new up in town, Ben?
Asked the gamekeeper, drawing back to the window shutters the better to admire the horses.
No, nothing that I knows on, replied the man, pulling on his gloves. Corn's up a little. I heard talk of a murder down Spittle Falls way, but I don't reckon much upon it.
Oh, that's quite true, said a gentleman inside, who was looking out of the window.
And a dreadful murder it was. Was it, sir?
Rejoined the guard, touching his hat.
Man or woman, pray, sir? A woman, replied the gentleman. It is supposed. Now, Ben, replied the coachman impatiently.
Damn that ere bag, said the guard.
Are you gone to sleep in there?
Coming, said the office keeper, running out.
Coming,
growled the guard.
Ah, and so's the young ooman of property that's going to take a fancy to me, but I don't know when. Here, give hold. All right.
The horn sounded a few cheerful notes, and the coach was gone. Sikes remained standing in the street, apparently unmoved by what he had just heard, and agitated by no stronger feeling than a doubt where to go. At length he went back again, and took the road which leads from Hatfield to St. Albans. He went on doggedly, but as he left the town behind him, and plunged into the solitude and darkness of the road, he felt a dread and awe upon him which shook him to the core. Every object before him, substance or shadow, still or moving, took the semblance of some fearful thing. But these fears were nothing compared to the sense that haunted him of that morning's ghastly figure following at his heels. He could trace its shadow in the gloom, supply the smallest item of the outline, and note how stiff and solemn it seemed to stalk along. He could hear its garments rustling in the leaves, and every breath of wind came laden with that last low cry. If he stopped, it did the same. If he ran, it followed, not running too. That would have been a relief. But like a corpse endowed with the mere machinery of life, and borne on one slow melancholy wind that never rose or fell. And we'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.